Funston is incapable of holding down a job for very long. Case in point, his position as crispness controller at the French's plant. In the background, someone is yelling at Claude, "Funston, the boss wants to see you." Claude looks kind of pissed and says, "Dang, squish level's too high again." The next panel. His inappropriate feelings of entitlement and privilege inevitably lead to confrontation with authority. Claude is shaking his fist angrily at the boss. "Oh yeah, well you can take your fuzzy on the crispy concept and..." The boss says, "Clean out your locker by 5. In the last panel, he avoids expensive shrink bills by telling all his troubles to Del Cargill, his hotel barber. Del says, "A little off the sides, eh, Mr. F?" Claude says, "You got that right, partner." In this portrait of my fast-talking scam artist shelf life, I had fun giving him some unexpected background bio. It's called Who Knew? By the way, I guess you've noticed over the years I give my strips titles, which was a very common thing in daily newspaper comic strips all throughout the early years, teens and 20s and 30s, but as far as I know, I'm the only one still doing it. I figure out my audience needs all the clues they can get. Sorry for things. The first panel, Shelf Life's reputation as a hard-nosed entrepreneur belies a more casual, sophisticated nature. Shelf Life uncharacteristically dressed up in a suit, saying, "Backing edgy off-Broadway plays may not always pay off, but it's soul-satisfying." Panel 2, and like most skilled quail hunters, he's miffed at the damage done to the sport's good name by Dick Cheney's episodes of last year. Holding a shotgun says, "I eat what I kill." The last panel, Zippy is observing Shelf Life. And at the top it says, "He volunteers with Habitat for Humanity on a regular basis and is an expert roofer." Zippy looks out the window. He says, "I don't know how to thank you, SL." Shelf Life says, "I'm just giving back to the community." Mr. Toad, my mean green thinking machine. He's been with me since I started, as I said before, but I never tire of him, even though he scares the hell out of me. And here he is boiled down to his essentials, I think. It's called Toad a la mode. Mr. Toad emerges each morning from his underground enclave, ready for a day of griping, grousing, and spying on his neighbors. As Toad comes out of the basement, he says, "Who wants a piece of me today?" Second panel, he pores over the paper. He doesn't want a computer. Noting the shortcomings of politicians, celebs, and the latest crop of mall movies. He's looking at the paper saying, "Yeah, that's what we need. Another troll trilogy." He uses an old 8mm movie camera to record the comings and goings of the suspicious types in the apartment building across the street. Undeterred by general disapproval, he's completely secure in his Kevlar-coated ego. Toad says, "Sure, I'm religious. I believe in skepticism." Another down to the essential strip. This time I'm profiling Zippy and his full-figured erstwhile spouse, Zerbina. It's called The Comical Couple. Zippy and Zerbina are very much in love, but it's not an ordinary love. Zippy saying to Zerbina, "May I offer you a small plastic submarine?" To which Zerbina responds, "As long as it's not already in my small plastic submarine collection." Panel 2, they like to take long, leisurely drives into the country and listen to Mr. Neolite tell them stories about the 60s. Mr. Neolite was an ad campaign character from those days. And Zippy's looking at Mr. Neolite and saying, "He was at Altamont." Zerbina says, "He knew Nixon." In the last panel, one day Zerbina bought an unopened 24-pack of Clark bars from the early 70s. When she told Zippy, they laughed and laughed. She's holding up a Clark bar saying, "I got them on eBay." And Zippy says, "The World Wide Web saved our marriage again." Zippy has a real fondness for bowling. I think bowling is the only true Zen-like sport. Something about the unity of opposites and becoming one with the ball and the pen. Anyway, this strip features a common aspect of Zippy and Zerbina's relationship, which is that they often forget they're married and think they've just met. Possibly the secret of a truly happy marriage. This one's called Championship Game. Zippy does not bowl to score or win. Zippy does not bowl to feel good about himself or to impress others with his abilities. Zippy bowls to find the nothingness at the center of the universe. Panel 2. Along the path to this existential awareness, Zippy will throw the occasional gutter ball or leave the dreaded 7-10 split. But Zippy does not see these events as problems. Because when nothingness is your helpmate, anything is possible. Zippy's talking to Zerbina. What do you say we hit aisle 7A at the Stop and Shop? To which she replies, okay, but I want you to know I don't usually shop on a first date. Skipping back a few decades, before I go on to the next strip, I just wanted to give a little background. This was my first moneymaker when I was doing comics. It came out in 1970. It's called Young Lust, as you can see, and it's pretty much direct, if X-rated. So in under 21 in the audience here, be prepared. I'm going to read the cover. X-rated parody of the cheesy soap opera-like girls' romance comics of those days. So the woman on the cover is thinking, as she looks to the strangely intent man to her right. 2 weeks ago, he was dry humping me in the elevator, and now I'm lucky if he remembers my goddamn name. And at the bottom it says, this is the comic that goes all the way. Gals, guys, or whatever, there's excitement here for everyone. So this is how Young Lust lives on today. I can't be raunchy as I used to be in the Baltimore Sun or the Washington Post, but I try to keep the spirit alive. In the next strip, Zippy and Zerbina literally portray fictional characters in a short tale of love and quantum physics called The Curvature of Office Space. So I may slip and call them Zippy and Zerbina, but their names are Ms. Fenwick and Mr. Penman. Okay, so Mr. Penman in the background sitting at his desk says, Ms. Fenwick, I've been thinking about the universe. And she says, it's the current doubt over string theory, isn't it, Mr. Penman? He says, yes, Ms. Fenwick. I'm beginning to question the idea that vibrating filaments of energy can, in turn, create protons, quarks, and so forth. She says, I see. And then she continues, well, I don't question any of the fundamental concepts of string theory, Mr. Penman, and I never will. He grabs a hold of her in an embrace and says, oh, Ms. Fenwick, please call me Ed. And then the clinch in the last panel, she says, all right, Ed, but promise me you'll never go back to seeing the cosmos in purely Einsteinian terms. To which he responds, oh, Carla, marry me and I'll build you your own advanced particle accelerator. I'm still waiting for my letter from Brian Greene. Physics guy. Two other big touchstones in Zippy's life are the muffler man and Zippy's attraction to old diners. Here Zippy tells Muffler Man just why he's so fascinated by him. Just as a bit of background, Muffler Men were all fashioned in the early to mid-60s, and at one point were all holding giant mufflers. Now they've been turned into all kinds of things as the original muffler chain went out of business, and they're being recruited into other uses. So this was a Muffler Man actually somewhere in LA, just standing as usual, sans muffler. So Muffler Man looks at Zippy in the first panel and says, Zippy, you don't look upon me as a kitsch object to be slyly indulged with a wink and a nod, do you? And Zippy says, no, Muffler Man. To me, you are a spiritual beacon in the lonely darkness, your powerful arms cradling an invisible flag, hot dog, or whatever, in the aching void of eternity. Muffler Man says, well, I wouldn't do that. Muffler Man continues, but it's nice to know I'm thought of as more than just a bit of commercial folk art, with no purpose other than to amuse or to encourage retail sales. And Zippy says, heartfelt, that is the most beautiful piece of poetry I've ever heard. This next strip is set right here in Baltimore. Some of you may recognize the Hollywood Diner on East Saratoga Street. By the way, you may think I'm